The evacuation of thousands of U.S. military personnel and refugees continues in Afghanistan, and some of those Afghan refugees will be resettled in Austin. Here to talk about this is Russell Smith, CEO of Refugee Services of Texas. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Russell, how many Afghan refugees will be resettled across Texas and specifically the Austin area?
Well, I can tell you how many we will see. So we're Refugee Services of Texas. We are the largest resettlement agency in the state, but we resettle about 30% of the refugees. And we're expecting probably, at least in this first wave, 300 to 325 across all of our sites. We're in Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, Amarillo, and down in the Rio Grande Valley. Austin specifically, we're probably looking at 35 in the coming weeks, and that will just continue to increase as we go. As you know, this is a kind of quickly unfolding situation, and it's a pretty, imminent crisis. There are a lot of individuals that are coming over. They're relocating to Fort Lee. They're going to other places, and they'll process, and then they'll end up in different communities across the country.
Could you tell us about some of the families that your group is working with?
Yeah, so I mean, we get families that typically, I mean, I think the first ones that we saw of this current wave was a family of 7 that came in over the weekend. You know, it is the SIV program, so the Special Immigrant Visas, is a particular program that was set up many years ago to help resettle individuals that have helped the U.S. in both Iraq and Afghanistan. So it's typically, translators and guides and people like that who have helped the U.S., particularly the service people overseas, and they are in particular danger within this current situation because their lives are at risk from the Taliban if they stay there.
You referenced special immigrant visas or SIVs. When these refugees come to Austin, what is the process to resettle them? Where do they go?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So what happens is that we'll get notice, right? So in Austin right now, we are the only resettlement agency. There used to be 2, but in the last several years, several agencies have kind of gone out of business doing this work. But so we'll get a little bit of notice. Typically before this this rush, we would get a week or so. Now it's, with a lot of people coming in, maybe a day and maybe 2 days. We scramble we get together a welcome team. We've got a lot of teams of volunteers that help out. They will set up an apartment for the family. They will meet them at the airport. They'll pick them up. And, typically, they've gone through just so much travel to get here that they're just exhausted, right? And so they take them to their new apartment, which is, all decked out and it's got food for them. And then they will typically, sleep for a day or 2. Then our staff goes out after giving them enough time to recuperate and starts providing services. So we'll, provide them English language services. The interesting thing about this particular population is that they are, compared to the other populations we work with, they typically know English a lot more than other refugees that we work with because they've worked with, the ones that have been the translators.
Right.
Yeah. We'll, our caseworkers will help get them connected to employment services, to any medical services that they need. If they have children, they'll start the process of getting them enrolled in school. Just pretty much anything that they need to get started on kind of a new life here in Austin from Afghanistan.
So very comprehensive. You're going to have a very busy next few weeks and months ahead of you. But Russell Smith with Refugee Services of Texas, thank you so much for sharing your time with us tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.